So if you're unaware, currently Eastenders has a murder mystery going on where at this Christmas a man is going to die, and we don't know who the man is that dies, and we don't even know who kills him. So basically, on the 20th of February 2023, they released an episode that had a flash forward to this Christmas, and it showed Stacey Slater, Kathy Beale, Suki Panesar, Denise Fox and Linda Carter all together surrounded by this dead body. We see Denise has a glass bottle broken in her hands, Stacey has blood in her hands, and Sharon goes up to this body and says he's dead. And so everyone's been wondering, who's this man that's died and who's killed him? I think that I might have worked it out. So if you look at it, we see that the man that is dead is dressed up in a suit. It's quite a fancy suit. And we know that Sharon is in a wedding dress. So it might be a safe assumption to say that the person that died was going to Sharon's wedding. So suspect number 1 would be Keanu Taylor. And suspect number 2 would be Zach, because these are two people we know would definitely go to Sharon's wedding. Keanu because he's the other one getting married, and Zach because he's her half-brother, and Sharon doesn't have many other family other than those two. There are some problems with this. It's not as clear as that, because you see Denise has a glass bottle broken, but it doesn't have any blood on it. So you would assume she broke it on purpose and held it out as a weapon to try and defend herself, which would suggest that someone was attacking them, whether it was the person who died or not, and that Denise was trying to defend herself. Well, if it's Keanu or Zach, those are two characters that aren't known for being aggressive, especially not towards women. So why would it be one of them? And we also know that there are multiple weddings going on currently. There are 3 other weddings this person who got killed could have been going to that Christmas. We know that Phil Mitchell and Kat Slater are going to get married at Christmas as well, or are due to. We know that Kathy and Rocky are also due to get married, although they're supposed to be married quite recently, so I don't know if they are or not. Maybe they will have done by the time this is out there, but when I'm recording this, they are still due to get married. And we also have George and Elaine are due to get married, which is odd because those are 2 characters which have only been introduced last month, which is after they introduced the murder mystery. But that's the 4th wedding now. And so this person that's been killed could have been going to any one of these 4 weddings. We also know that Eastenders changes relationships and who's with who a lot. So Sharon has multiple other love interests that she might still like, and knowing Eastenders, she could have switched out who she's going to get married to at Christmas before it happens. So it might not be Keanu. It could be, which leads me to suspect number 3, it could be Phil Mitchell. The reason people think it's Phil is because the date Phil was first introduced was February the 20th, which happens to be 33 years before the episode where they introduced the murder mystery, because that episode just sort of came out of nowhere. They sort of threw together these 5 women who don't normally interact so often, at least not all of them, because Suki wasn't a friend of any of them, and now she's just late at night drinking with them all. It's the episode seems to come out of nowhere. Maybe they selected the February the 20th on purpose, as a little nod to it being Phil Mitchell that dies. And besides, Phil is a love interest of Sharon, so it might make sense that he gets married to her instead. And we know Phil definitely still has feelings for Sharon. It could also be my suspect number 4, Duncan, because Duncan's an odd one. He hasn't been in the show since the 80s. He was just some love interest she had when she was younger. But he appeared around April this year and then didn't show up again. So it was weird that that happened. And it's worth bearing in mind because he could be someone that shows up again and she maybe has feelings for him again and gets married to him instead. It could also, and this is my suspect number 5, and this is very out there, it could be Jack Branning, because when I did some research, I found out that she was in a relationship with Jack in 2012, and they were actually engaged in 2013, but for whatever reason they didn't get married. So maybe, since Jack's relationship with Denise is on the rocks at the moment because of that whole affair, maybe they get feelings for each other again and Sharon gets married to Jack. It's possible. So Jack is my suspect number 5. If the person that was attacking those 5 women was like trying to attack Stacy, maybe it was someone Stacy knew, maybe it was Martin. It's not like Martin, but it's possible. So Martin's my suspect number 6. Or more likely, it could be Theo, because he's a current villain at the moment. And he's this creepy stalker trying to get to Stacy by tutoring her child. So I could very easily see them writing in a way for him to be the one killed. So he's my suspect number 7. It could also be Ryan, since we know he's due to come back at Christmas. So it might be safe to assume that he's going to be involved in this murder mystery somehow. It could also, this is my suspect number 9 now, it could also be Kira. And I say that just because he's the only other love interest of Stacy that's like still around, even though he's in prison. But you know, he gets jealous a lot. He could easily break out, see that she still likes Martin or something and get jealous. You know, the Panasars are like that. I think it could easily be Kira. My suspect number 10, and this is very unlikely, I think it's odd how Sean keeps showing up randomly, like every few years or every few months. Like he'll occasionally just make a little appearance to say hello, but hey, he could come back. I know that's unlikely, but I just want to list everyone I can think of for this before I decide who I think it's going to be. Which leads me to suspect number 11, and this is related to Denise. I think if the man who was attacking them was trying to attack Denise, it could have been Lucas, Denise's ex-husband, since he's known for attacking women. I mean, he's killed multiple people before, not just women, but I think I could see that very easily, him trying to do another murder attempt and all 5 of them come together and defend themselves and kill him. So Lucas is my suspect number 11. Two other men Denise knows are Patrick and Howie, so I'll say they're my suspects 12 and 13, but they're both very unlikely. But there could be, if it's them, and they probably were killed by accident. I don't think it's them, but it could have been. Now, if it was Kathy that the man was trying to attack, maybe it was Rocky, since he's due to get married to her. Maybe Rocky attacked her for whatever reason. He's my suspect number 14. We know her 2 sons, Ben Mitchell and Ian, will both be there by Christmas, because we know Ian's going to come back soon with Cindy. Although, why it would be any of these 3? I mean, there's no reason to think that. So they're not very likely, but they would have been at Kathy's wedding. So they're my suspects 14, 15 and 16. But if the man was trying to attack Suki, then it could have been her husband, Nish. We know that, well, he gets angry with her quite a bit. He's not really right in the head. He's the villain of the show at the moment. So it could quite easily be Nish. We also know that his son, or Suki's stepson, Ravi, is also a bit of a villain, and he was blackmailing Denise at one point, so you could see a scenario where he's the one they kill. So he's my suspect 18 and Nish is my suspect 17. We also know that Suki's only son left is Vinny, so Vinny's my suspect number 19. And, you know, he's getting himself in quite a lot of trouble at the moment, so maybe it's him. Anyway, if it was Linda that the man was attacking, then it could be George Knight, because we know he lives with her. He lives at the crime scene, and he also has, him and Linda haven't exactly had a good start. They're not exactly friends at the moment, so you could see a scenario where he loses his temper and tries to attack Linda. I mean, we know the man's badly injured someone before, so it could be George. He's my suspect number 20. But also, I wouldn't say this person if it wasn't for the internet, but a lot of people seem to think it's Dean. And I don't really know much about Dean because he hasn't been on the show for a few years and he was before I was watching it. So I don't know enough about him, but a lot of people suspect he's going to come back with Shirley and that he's going to get aggressive towards Linda and someone will save her from him and Dean will die and that it's Dean. I hope not, because that's not a very satisfying answer because the guy hasn't been in it for years, as I said. So Dean's my suspect number 21. There's also Mick Carter. Now I know he died, but come on, I think we all know he didn't, because they left it open for him to return like he was presumed dead, and it's been rumoured that he's going to return soon. Well, I don't know how likely this is. It seems a little too soon to me at the moment. It hasn't even been a full year yet, and it also wouldn't make much sense to bring him back just to kill him off. So Mick Carter's probably the least likely out of all these suspects, but it still could be him, and he is my suspect number 22. And I believe that is every grown man who is linked to these 5 women that is likely to be that man that died at Christmas. But if I was just to list all the other male characters that go to the pub regularly that could be there, I'd say we have Harvey, Mitch, Billy, Jay, Callum, Alfie, Peter, because he's going to come back with Ian and Cindy soon. We also have Felix, and it's worth bearing in mind that Felix's brother left the show for good, so it can't be him. And finally we have Reese. Now when Reese came into it and this whole mystery began, Reese was the first person I thought it was going to be, because his character was a bit odd. And I thought maybe there's more to him. Maybe he's going to be this twist villain. But after watching him for a few months now, I generally think he's just supposed to be the comic relief, and that doesn't seem like the direction they're going. I mean, I could be wrong and it could be Reese, but it seems unlikely. But those are some more suspects. Now, out of everyone, I think the most, if you look at the murder scene, the most likely person is going to be Keanu, based on what we know at the scene. But in terms of motive, then it's most likely to be Nish that's killed, because he's made the most enemies and he's most likely to make them angry or get aggressive, and so those two are the people that make the most sense on paper, but Eastenders never does the most obvious person, and that's why I think the person that dies is going to be Martin Fowler. The reason being is that he's the perfect person to kill off. I mean, he's been in the show for a long time, and yet they don't really do a lot with him, and it wouldn't be that much of an effect if they killed him off. And also he's starting to have this relationship with Stacey now, which seems a bit odd to do around now, because that seems a bit out of nowhere and sudden. So maybe they're just doing that to bring them together and then kill him off, and have a tragedy out of it, because EastEnders is known for stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's Martin. But let me know if there's anyone I missed who it could have been, or why I'm wrong and why it's not Martin, or who you think it's going to be. But yeah, thank you.